Hey, what's up you guys? In this video we're gonna talk about how a Substance Painter works and what it does and what it is for those who don't know what actually is, or those are beginners and they don't know where to start. So as you can see here, this is a portable radio that I created in 3ds Max, and then I textured in Substance Painter. As you can see here, there are a lot of things going on here, and I want to give you an overview. This is not a tutorial, this is just a quick start or an overview of what Substance Painter is. So as you can see here, we have the canvas, and I'm trying to rotate the lighting. I'm holding shift and the right side of the mouse, or the right button of the mouse, to rotate the lighting that is actually lighting our environment, as you can see here. So we have here on the right side, we have the layers. This actually looks a lot like Photoshop. As you can see here, I have some layers here and folders which contain some other layers like materials or smart materials. And on the other tab of the right side, we have the texture set settings. This contains any channels or any materials we have, actually any maps we have that we baked using the baking inside Substance Painter, or we imported from outside parties. So these are the maps that we have, or the set of textures we have inside Substance Painter right now related to this model we have here. Also, we can add any of these if we want to. And over here we have kind of the shelf where we can find everything from alphas, textures, materials, smart materials, masks, smart masks, everything. So for example here, let's go to alphas. As you can see here, these are the alphas that I usually use, or sometimes I make my own in order to create something like this. For the most part, this is created using alphas that I personally generated in Photoshop. So for example, let's just see here these signs here and these scripts and these texts. For these signs, I believe that there is, let's just look for it. Alright, danger, probably this one. This is a sign that I used in order to generate these this one here, or we can look for the electricity, caution, whatever. There are some signs that are going to help you to generate these effects here using masks, of course. So when you try to create an alpha, you're going to use a mask and apply one of these to it. So we're not going to go in depth to kind of in explaining these, because we're going to create specific videos explaining these in depth. For example, here we have the grunge, which is actually some effects that you can add to your masks in order to see some nice results. For example, we're gonna add a black mask over here, and if we add this, let's just say this over here as a stencil, we can see that it is actually gonna allow us to paint over to see some of these things and effects taking place. Alright, so you get the idea, I believe, and I'm gonna have to delete this mask, so we're gonna go right click, remove mask. And as you can see here, we have also procedurals, which is something similar to the grunges, but it is something that is more organized for bricks, tiles, floors, clothes, whatever, but it is gonna be something organized and repeatable. Textures also is something related to the baking and stuff we talked about. And let's jump over here to we have brushes, which is very similar to what we use in Photoshop. We have also materials and smart materials. So the difference between materials and smart materials is that materials are kind of simple and flat. They don't have a structure, but smart materials are kind of complicated, and they have structure and multiple layers to them. Like for example here, let's just take this plastic armor glossy, which is this one here. This is a smart material that was created inside, most likely created inside Substance Designer, which is a far more complicated software than Substance Painter because it operates under the node system, or kind of, it is very complicated. If you don't know what Substance Painter is right now, please don't bother knowing what Substance Designer is, because it is far more complicated than this one. Alright, so as you can see here, it has multiple layers, it has masks, and the most important thing for us is we can use it straight away, directly. We don't have to worry what's inside unless we want to change something. But for the most part, the heavy lifting is done for us, and we just need to throw it on our model in the layer area here, and we're going to be able to see some cool results. For smart masks is something nice. It is kind of a way to use the masks to generate certain effects. For example, let's just say we're going to add, for example, we're going to add a, let's just say, a material. We're going to add an aluminum material, throw it on the top. And this aluminum material, alright, it does not look the way we want it to, so we're going to use something different, like gold. Alright, so as you can see here, we can add a black mask, and we're going to go to a smart mask, and let's just find a nice smart mask. Alright, let's throw this one over here and see what is going to happen. Alright, as you can see here, this mask is going to allow us to see the gold actually taking place in certain areas depending on how the mask works. So this is called occlusion strong. So it's going to allow us to throw some gold particles all around the place in corners, and it is nice effect. So this is basically what smart masks are good for, to kind of distribute certain effects over certain areas in a certain particular way. When it comes to environment, this is actually how our environment is laid. We can throw it directly to the scene, and we can see some different results. So we can actually use this, throw it here, and we should be able to see different type of lighting, because for the most part these are HDRI images or HDR images, which stands for high dynamic range images, which allows us to light our environment as we please. We can actually use our own HDRI images if we want to, because it is a cool way of lighting our scenes. And for the most part, this is what we need when it comes to materials and masks and stuff. This is where we're gonna put our layers, folders and stuff. This is our texture sets, and the baking that we after we do the baking, probably we're gonna talk about baking as well, because it comes prior to this stage. Also here you can add some channels. For example, we can add let's just say something nice like emissive. Let's go with emissive. So emissive, as you can see here, and let's just say we want to add a fill layer. In this fill layer, we're gonna go over here, we're gonna find our emissive channel that we added. So this basically doesn't come with Substance Painter, but when we add it, we should activate it in order to see it taking place. And also we have, for example, so I'm gonna explain this quickly. So the emissive is actually a way to emit radiation from objects or from layers. If I do this, probably I'm gonna add a black mask because I want it to be particularly affecting something. So go to, also I'm gonna use this opportunity to talk about some of these tools over here. So we have here the brush, or the brush for paint. We have here the eraser to erase anything. We have projection, which is something we're going to talk about later, and we have here something very important, very important, which is the polygon fill. So I use this every time and every opportunity on everything. The polygon fill is a way to allow us to select certain parts of our model to be affected by the mask or by the material, which is actually limited by the mask. So we can select, for example, let's just say I want, just say I want this this switch here, or this dial switch, to be affected by this material. So I'm going to use polygons, which is going to allow us to select individual parts to be affected by this white fill layer, or I'm going to use a mesh fill, which is going to select the whole thing as an element. So as you can see here, that this was selected, and if I want to deselect it, I want to bring this to the other side and hit the object we were talking about in order to deselect it. So it depends on the color, kind of the gradient. I don't know what's going to happen if we keep it in the middle. Probably it's not going to do something interesting. For the most part, we need to push it all the way. So this gradient level is for different styles of selection, or a spectrum of selection. For the most part, if we want to select, push it all the way to the right. If we want to deselect, push it all the way to the left. So for now, we will do something interesting. So we're going to select this. All right, didn't work. All right, now it worked. And we were talking about the emissive channel, so I don't want to go in depth to talking about these things, because this is just an introduction. I don't want to confuse you with all the things that Substance Painter can do. So this is basically, let's just say this is as an example, the emissive is a way to emit some radiation from certain pieces or certain parts. So I'm going to go to viewport, or let's go to Windows, View. We want to see display settings. All right, so display settings, these are the display settings that we have inside Substance Painter. And we want, for example, to activate the post effects. We want the glare to be activated for now. And as you can see here, this is what we can see here, which is a lot of radiation and emissions, but we can actually control this from these properties. We can reduce the luminance, we can increase or decrease this threshold. Basically, the more you reduce the amount of the threshold, the more it becomes gradient. So these are kind of some things that you can do inside Substance Painter. Also here, as I said before, we can here from your display or hide some of the panels and some of the tools and kind of settings we have depending on what you want, toolbars, anything. Also, you can activate the array renderer, which is probably gonna crash my computer because I have a lot of things going on here, so I don't want to do this. So basically, this is the renderer integrated with Substance Painter, as you can see here. I don't want to continue doing this because I'm doing a lot of things at the same time, plus recording, plus all the software that are opened at the same time. Alright, so I think this is kind of a nice overview of what Substance Painter can do and what are the things you can use. Also, probably in the next videos, we're going to explain how to add text and some of these effects. And for example, this transparent grid here, how to create it to make things look, to allow ourselves to see through, and to probably add, as I said before, like emissive objects, and how to add some effects like these we can see in the back and everything else. So thank you very much for watching, and I tried to make this as short as possible because I know that this is just an overview. I'm not really teaching you anything in particular, but in the next one we're gonna dive deeper into some interesting details. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.